Across a number of areas within the Walt Disney Company, the company is not acting in the way that you might anticipate or expect an entertainment company to function. It seems to me that the function of business, in fact, is to make money, yet for whatever reason, Disney is trying an avant-garde approach. Shall we call it an artificial economy? Well, I don't know that I would go that far, but let's just run through some of the pieces of the Walt Disney Company which surely shareholders would like to see presented in a better way, absolutely, because, well, there are revenue sources that Disney seems reticent to tap into. First of all, X-Men. Disney paid a huge amount of money in order to acquire the X-Men along with other Fox properties, and yet they are nowhere to be found. The MCU has went through Phase 4 and now is entering Phase 5. We call it the Phase 5 dive. Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania is struggling mightily. It could lose as much as $100 million, perhaps even more. And when you look at the slate of upcoming Marvel films, well, other than Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which is headed by James Gunn, going soon to the competition, or already gone, right, as he takes over DC Comics and their cinematic universe, it could be a very long run of financial failures for the MCU. In fact, there is a very realistic possibility that the MCU sees financial flops all the way until the end of 2024 with Deadpool 3. Where are those X-Men? Those characters that people love, those characters that we all thought we would be seeing very soon. After Thanos was defeated, surely it was the time to bring forth those mutants, but instead, we have sort of had the C, D, or maybe E tier superheroes. It's the septic tank of superheroes, the roster that's down in the muck. We get the Marvels, we get all kinds of Eternals, characters that audiences don't know, don't care about, and don't love, while the better characters sit on the sidelines. Question: how much money could Disney make off of the X-Men if they were to revive those characters versus if they give us another Eternals movie, versus if they give us another Marvels movie? Well, it seems to me that that number could be in the hundreds of millions, but it might also even be in the billion range of difference in terms of profit and revenues for Disney. So I ask, when it comes to the X-Men, why does Disney not want our money? It's easy. Just give us the X-Men in a good way, and you will reap vast quantities of money. And yet they don't. We can also take this to the Avengers, though. Fans love the Avengers. They love Iron Man. They love Captain America. They love Thor. They love all of those original Avengers and some other Avengers that we have yet to see. And yet, who do we get? Well, we get a twerking She-Hulk now, and we get other characters of lesser degrees. We don't get the Avengers. In fact, we have heard from third parties working with Disney that they're forced to make products featuring these other characters that aren't beloved, aren't well known, and then we don't get as many Avengers. But why not? Surely, giving us what we want is the way to make money. Disney does not do so. You might also look across to some of their other cinematic franchises. Star Wars, for example. We just went through The Mandalorian, in which they had to do an off-script or off-screen write-off of Cara Dune, the very popular character from The Mandalorian, played by Gina Carano. It has been devastating for Star Wars and for Disney, losing Gina Carano, especially in the way that it happened. As we've heard from guests on our show, and as we have witnessed in the catastrophic drop in ratings for Star Wars materials on Disney+, that losing Gina Carano in that way gravely damaged the perception of fans that they're appreciated. And in fact, if Disney would bring back Gina Carano in some way, even for a single time, or give some sort of apology, then perhaps they could restore some of the relationships that they've lost. Is it 50% of the fans that have left Star Wars? Is it 70%? Even if you are conservative on this and say, oh no, they've only lost 30%. That's still a huge amount of people who are gone. Why does Disney not want our money? All they have to do is get out of politics, bring back Gina Carano or Cara Dune, restore faith in the fans that they're not politically motivated, that they just want to tell a good story, free from the constraints of our own world and our own politics. And yet they don't do that. It makes one wonder, why does Disney not want to reap the rewards? Why do they not want vast amounts of revenue? You might also think about Galaxy's Edge. We've seen now that Grogu, that's Baby Yoda for those of you who are not paying close attention to The Mandalorian, Baby Yoda and the main character of The Mandalorian, Din, when they appear at Galaxy's Edge in Hollywood Studios in Florida, there are huge crowds that form all around them, people trying to push and shove to see these characters. It makes one wonder, why does Disney continue to stick with the sequel trilogy despite the fact that it's unpopular? It's not just unpopular, it's loathed. It's hated. Huge amounts of fans dislike the sequel trilogy to the point that they won't return to Star Wars so long as they think that it will be canon and that it continues to be that way. Disney has options to handle that in a respectful way for those who actually like it. They could diverge the timelines. They could use all kinds of trickery. Perhaps there are multiverses in many of their franchises, not just in Marvel. And yet, despite Disney seeing that The Mandalorian is very popular and characters like Rey and Kylo Ren generate almost no enthusiasm inside the parks, Disney continues to stick with this strategy of the sequel trilogy. Galaxy's Edge, a hotel that's devoted to Star Wars, can't even stay open 1 year after it was initiated. They're closing voyages, shall we say, of the Galactic Star Cruiser for the summer. For the summer when it should be most busy. It's based around the sequel trilogy. And yet there they are, the Mandalorian characters, crowded by throngs of fans wanting to get photographs and meet them for the very first time. It reminds one that Disney clearly doesn't want money. Why? I don't understand it. Shareholders, can you tell me why Disney doesn't want money? Why Disney doesn't want to reap profits and give them to you? I struggle to understand exactly what it is they're after if their business is not obtaining as much business as possible from fans. How much better would the Galaxy's Edge and Galactic Star Cruiser properties be if they were filled with either the original trilogy characters or if they were filled with the New Republic characters? Heck, even the prequel at this point would be a massive upgrade. But no, we stick with Rey and Kylo Ren, despite the fact that fans just don't want to deal with it. And then there's also the issue of the Disney World capacity situation. Sure, Disneyland is rather landlocked, and unless the municipalities that control that area are willing, it has a hard time growing beyond its current borders. But Walt Disney World is a completely different situation. It has the ability to grow and grow and grow. Even though Disney has now lost their self-governing powers through decisions that put them into a political realm, the truth is that they can continue to increase capacity at their parks almost to levels that are unending. Still, Disney does not do that. For whatever reason, Disney seems intent to always remove one attraction when they create a new attraction. Disney doesn't increase capacity per se, they just swap out the rides at great expense. But in doing so, they don't increase the number of people who can go through the turnstiles. And that means that these capacity limits they've put, which are artificially low and which are not emulated by any other theme park out there, Universal Studios certainly isn't keeping their number of guests artificially low. But by Disney doing that, that means that the amount of money they make each day is constrained by the number of people who can go into the parks. But Disney could grow. Disney could increase the size. Disney could have huge theme parks with sprawling avenues and massive numbers of attractions. And yet, many of their parks still have the same number of rides as 15, 20 years ago. This despite more people than ever having the ability to go to a Disney park and population growth. Why does Disney not want money? Why would Disney not grow their theme parks and thus grow their revenue? It makes no sense. Then at Disney Plus, we see something quite similar. We know that Disney Plus is a massive sinkhole of losses for the company. We know that Disney Plus costs them billions of dollars every year. And so sure, they do have to get that under control so that it can become profitable. But at the same time, why would you cut the cadence of your content coming out rather than cut the budgets of some of these things? We all know that Disney budgets are bloated. Lower the budgets. Give us good dialogue. Give us good drama. It doesn't have to be filled with CGI from one end to the other. Instead, give us the stuff we want. Disney Plus, though, is determined, as heard by Bob Iger, to reduce the cadence, pause the things that were coming out in 2023, push them back to 2024. Surely subscribers will stay on because Disney Plus will babysit their kids for them. At least that's the thinking, but I'm not sure that's correct. Disney must not want our money. They even go to such a degree now that they're going to slow down what they give us on Disney Plus when clearly the logical answer would just be cut some of the bloat, reduce the budgets, make good stuff that's not filled to the brim with VFX. And finally, Disney must really not want our money because nobody is asking for Peter Pan and Wendy. That's clear. Go look at the reactions on YouTube. And yet they continue to make content just like that. They are filling the screens with propaganda stuff, filled with all of the socio-political movements of the day from one end of the spectrum and pumping that into kids. But that's not what people want. People want universal entertainment. People want neutral ground where the right and the left can both enjoy entertainment together, form cultural bonds, things that we share. Disney, however, is, whether or not they know it, fully devoted to division. You can see this in the movie The Little Mermaid. Already the marketing for that movie has been built around race and depicting people as having a negative view of the actress who will be playing the part of the Little Mermaid. This is not a great marketing strategy. It's the same thing we saw with the Obi-Wan Kenobi series and how, prior to its release, everything was about how there were contingencies of fans out there acting poorly. This is not how movies in the past functioned. For example, when Will Smith was leading up Men in Black, this was never an issue. And when other actors of different ethnicities have taken starring roles, up until recently, it just was what it was. Those celebrities, those stars, if they did a great job, everybody loved their portrayals. The number of people who would act poorly about that are so small that they should be ignored. It's the appropriate place for them to be and the appropriate reaction to them. And yet, there seems to be a marketing strategy of sliming even the fans and perhaps even overly inflating the meaning and significance of being cast in a role, when what really needs to happen, for example in The Little Mermaid, is there needs to be a great soundtrack, a reverence for the original material, and just no drama. Because if there's no drama, then surely little girls and their mothers will go to the movie over and over and over, regardless of the skin color of anybody in the film. And if they do so, Disney will reap the rewards once again of massive revenue. There's no reason that this movie should make anything less than $1 billion. And yet, here we go again with the film and the actress beginning to take this position, which has very little chance of being financially successful. How many millions of dollars is that worth? How many millions of dollars shall Disney set fire to with a movie that is set under the sea by addressing this sort of thing rather than just saying, you know what? We're going to make a movie that is family-friendly with great music, and you're going to want to come see this over and over and over. And surely we live in a time where the color of one's skin is not a determination for your appreciation of the film and what we're trying to do. Disney must not want our money. Otherwise, they would not step into that type of a situation. So, Disney and Disney's shareholders, when will enough be enough? The Phase 5 dive has begun. Marvel is in a terrible situation. Star Wars can't even get a theatrical release out the door. Disney World is doing fine, but other parks around the world are not. The parks in China seem to be at the edge, the precipice, if you will, of failure, given the fact that they can hardly even stay open. Disney Plus is already stagnant in terms of growth in North America. Meanwhile, Netflix is still adding millions of subscribers each quarter, even though Netflix is more than double Disney Plus's subscribers. Surely saturation has not been reached by Mickey Mouse quite yet. And just when you think that perhaps the company can turn the corner, look at Universal Studios and the other companies coming out with these great properties like the Super Mario Brothers movie, or Minions, or even Puss in Boots, which may be relaunching Shrek. And yet Disney is still mired in the same things that have haunted them in the past. Racial tensions, socio-political issues, and all kinds of highly divisive content, all centered around children's content. That's strange, and it doesn't seem to be working. So shareholders, C-suite, and everybody else involved in this, would you please just want our money again? Because if you'll listen to the market, surely you'll make good decisions. And that would be good for all of us. If you like content like this, make sure to click the like button, share, subscribe, and that notification bell, click it and stick it to the algorithms. We do covet your comments, so please leave one below. And remember, the Pro Show starts March 23rd, Thursdays each week, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll see you there. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.